The first time I realized something was off, I didn't even notice it. I was at the kitchen table, scrolling through my phone, when I caught a reflection in the window. She wasn't looking at me. She wasn't even looking at anything. Her eyes were glazed, distant, like she'd been somewhere else for days. I tried to laugh it off. "Long day?" I asked. She nodded, too quickly, too sharply. That was the first time I felt the chill of something I couldn't name. Weeks passed, and the feeling grew. She would leave the house abruptly, claiming errands that made no sense. Her phone, once casually set down on the counter, was now a permanent fixture in her hand, locked with a passcode she refused to share. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself trust was part of marriage, that maybe I was being paranoid. But every lie, every fleeting hesitation, whispered a truth I wasn't ready to face. It all came crashing down tonight. She demanded her lawyer handle me. I was sitting on the couch, half-eaten dinner on the coffee table, when she stood at the doorway, her arms crossed, her lips pressed into a tight, unreadable line. "I don't want to deal with this myself," she said. Her voice was calm, unnervingly calm. "From now on, your interactions with me go through my lawyer." I blinked. "Your lawyer? For what?" She didn't answer immediately. She just turned and walked out, leaving a note on the counter. "Call him. 48 hours. 48 hours. I stared at the note long after she had left. My chest was tight. My mind raced. Something in her tone, in the way she had looked at me, said more than words ever could. She wasn't just angry. She was shutting me out. And I didn't understand why. The next morning, I found myself sitting in a sterile office, the faint smell of coffee and paper mingling in the air. Across from me, a man in a gray suit cleared his throat. "Mr. Langley," he said. His voice was polite, but sharp, the kind of tone that left no room for misunderstanding. "I'm James. I handle all correspondence on behalf of Mrs. Langley." I forced a smile, but it felt hollow. "Right. Okay." He opened a folder and slid a letter across the desk. I picked it up, hand shaking slightly. She had written it herself. It was precise, cold, meticulous. She demanded that I vacate our home, that any financial or legal matters would be handled through him, that I was to have no direct contact with her. I read the letter again, hoping, somehow, that reading it would undo the reality of it. But reality has a way of sticking, sharp and unyielding. Is she okay?" I asked. The words came out smaller than I expected, a whisper of vulnerability. James looked at me for a long moment. "She's firm in her decision." I swallowed hard. My mind spun, firm in her decision. That didn't make sense. We had spent 15 years together. We had plans, inside jokes, arguments, and reconciliations. Marriage wasn't a casual arrangement. It was supposed to be messy, real, enduring. And yet here I was, learning that I didn't know her at all. Over the next 24 hours, I replayed everything we had shared, searching for signs. I remember the nights she stayed out later than she said. I remember the times her laugh on the phone seemed slightly off, too exaggerated, as if she were performing it. I remembered the perfume on her coat, the one I didn't recognize. Each memory, once innocent, now felt like a breadcrumb in a trail I hadn't wanted to see. Then the call came. I didn't recognize the number at first, but when I answered, it was her voice. Soft, almost casual. "I just wanted to say, you'll hear from James. Don't make this harder than it has to be." Her words were calm, but in them, I heard the finality I had been avoiding, the quiet severance of everything I thought we had. Anger bubbled under my chest, raw and hot. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to shake the truth out of her. But instead, I sat in silence, listening to her breathe over the line. For the first time in years, I felt small, invisible. By the time I met her lawyer again, I was exhausted, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. James had prepared meticulously, every word, every clause, every demand laid out with clinical precision. But the more I listened, the more the pieces fell into place. There was a consistency in the paperwork that hinted at something deeper, something personal, and I began to suspect the truth before it was even spoken. Then he said it, almost in passing, as if it were a formality. She's involved with someone else. She wanted me to make sure you understood the arrangements while protecting her interests. I felt my stomach drop, my vision blurred. The words landed like fists. Involved with someone else. The phrase was hollow and loud at the same time, a betrayal made real in a single breath. I didn't cry, not immediately. Instead, I felt the quiet collapse of everything around me, like a house of cards succumbing to a gentle but unstoppable breeze. I wanted to hate her, to curse her, to demand retribution. But I realized that I didn't hate her. I grieved her. I grieved the version of her I thought I knew, the life we had built, the trust one had given without question. When the meeting ended, James stood, briefcase in hand, and said, "I hope this goes smoothly, for both your sakes." I nodded, but I wasn't listening. I was elsewhere, inside the house we had shared, seeing her smile, feeling her hand in mine, and then realizing that every memory had been a thin veil over reality I hadn't wanted to see. I went home to an empty house, the silence screaming. I walked from room to room, each space haunted by echoes of laughter, arguments, soft confessions in the dark. I found her coat in the closet, untouched, but somehow already gone. The perfume lingered faintly, a cruel reminder that she had been living a double life under my roof. That night, I sat on the porch with a bottle of cheap whiskey, tasting the bitterness of disbelief and sorrow. I replayed the meeting, the letter, the call. I thought of confronting her, but the truth had already been delivered. I didn't need words anymore. She had chosen her path, and it didn't include me. Somewhere between the second and third glass, I realized something essential. My life wasn't over. The person I was with her had been real, but so was the person I was alone. Pain, heartbreak, and betrayal were anchors, yes, but they were also proof that I had loved deeply, that I had trusted. And even though trust had been shattered, I could rebuild, piece by piece, starting with myself. I stayed on the porch long after the whiskey was gone, the night cold against my skin, the wind whispering secrets I didn't yet understand. I didn't know if I would forgive her, or if I even wanted to, but I knew one thing. I wouldn't let this betrayal define me. In the end, the lawyer was just a messenger, the letter of formality. The real truth had been delivered in the empty spaces she left behind, in the quiet, in the absence of explanations that made sense. And maybe that was the cruelest part. Not that she had betrayed me, but that she had done it with a calm certainty that left me no room to argue, no room to negotiate. I closed the door that night with a finality I hadn't felt before. Behind me lay 15 years of shared dreams, laughter, and love, now reduced to memories and echoes. Ahead of me lay uncertainty, yes, but also the chance to reclaim the man I had almost lost to disbelief and denial. And for the first time in days, I felt a spark, not a hope, not a love, not yet, but survival. Because some betrayals don't just break you. They teach you how to stand again, even when the ground beneath your feet has vanished.